It's the policy discuss segment on the front burners. And this time around, let's take a look at the new plan of the federal government. There are plans to cancel visa on arrival policy and introduce landing and exit cards. So the federal government, through the Ministry of Interior, has this plan, and it was announced by the Minister of Interior, Dr. Olubunmi Tunjojo, on Friday in Abuja, where he made a disclosure during the ceremony of a week-long capacity building organized for personnel of the Nigeria Immigration Service. So, according to the minister, on assumption of office in 2023, it said that the visa on arrival policy was based on reciprocity. So, and then visa is often given to frequently traveling high net worth investors. But this time around, replacing it with the card for when you land, the landing and exit card, is to check issues concerning immigration in Nigeria, so that people who have committed crime elsewhere and wanting to use Nigeria as a safe haven to hide will not have that. So there will be adequate profiling to ensure that whoever is coming into Nigeria, there has been background check done, and this person has a legitimate reason to be in Nigeria before you are given visa. But if you intend to come to Nigeria, from where you are, you fill the form, and then the government does everything that is necessary, the background check and everything, and then you are approved for landing in Nigeria. There's also an exit card that will be given to you. Not you coming, and it's when you show up, they're giving you visa on arrival. Doc. Well, moving from the old to the new now.
Yeah, I think given the incidences that has happened in time past, this has become very necessary because that helps put a check on people who come into the country, that once people fill in their documents online, you are able to do the appropriate security checks on them, and then by the time they are arriving, you know who has come into the country.
All right, before we continue the conversation, let's bring in our guest, who is a principal partner, Woodridge and Scott Consulting. His name is Segun Sopitan. Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. Okay, if we look at what the Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Ojo, is trying to do here to ensure that people do not just come to Nigeria without us knowing who they are. And he actually mentioned that the Nigeria Immigration Service should be able to tell Nigerians how many people have come into Nigeria within a given period of time. So this is going to be an automated process and is going to also help to ensure security. What's your take on the move, cancelling visa on arrival and replacing with a landing and exit card?
To use very mild expressions, so this is a good thing, using the...
We apologize, we do not have audio from Segun Sopitan, and we hope to have that sorted soon as. In the meantime, continue the conversation. The issue of visa on arrival, cancelling that, replacing with landing and exit cards.
Well, I think what government is trying to do is to see how to forestall that people who are known globally to be terrorists and the rest of them do not just find their way into the country. And so we're trying to see how to control security. But I think my real major challenge is beyond those who come in, and the ability of our people, especially the immigration officers or the counter, to be able to profile people who come into the country. And I think there are other countries where, of course, you have visas on arrival, like in Rwanda. You come into the country, and then, of course, the immigration service do their due diligence. Yeah, but because even if you have to fill a card, and somebody still will need to beat your process. It is the men who man the gate that, for me, that really needs to be reformed or transformed. The story is told of the fence that was built by the Chinese to forestall intruder from entering into China. Massive wall built around China. And inside the 100 years, the city was invaded twice, and the people who came to invade the city, they all walk in through the gate. And I think is how to recondition the men who stay at the gate so that they don't take some gift and allow intruders to come in freely is what we really need to pay attention to.
Okay, just got news from my producer that we can now continue a conversation with Segun Sopitan, the principal partner, Woodridge and Scott Consulting. Apologies for the glitch today.
No problem at all. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go on.
Okay.
So what's your take on the cancellation of visa on arrival, replacing that with landing and exit cards?
Yeah, I don't think that the visa on arrival thing is really the news for me. You know, it's a policy decision of the government. If we feel that we need to attract more tourists, make it easier for investors to get into the country when they need to, and we decide to have a visa on arrival policy, it's all well and good. As long as, for me, the only conditionality that should exist with that is the principle of reciprocity. You know, so you shouldn't have visa on arrival for a country, for example, that doesn't allow you the same privilege. You know, I'm aware, for example, that Kenya doesn't allow Nigerians, you know, into their country on visa on arrival basis, even though they do so for other African countries. Egypt has a visa on arrival list that does not include Nigeria, but has South Africa, you know, has even Guinea. You know, so as long as we also make sure that we apply those same principles to those countries, for me, it's neither here nor there. I think the real issue is the introduction of the advanced passenger information, you know, the API system into our border control processes. I think this is commendable. It brings us aligned with how things are done, you know, in other parts of the world, in advanced societies and advanced democracies, you know. It ensures that we are in full control of the people that come in. We know who they are. And, you know, working hand in hand with the international security agencies and all that. So it's a good thing. The other thing that I think that the minister has done, which should be commended, is the attempts to align our different databases, you know, into one central database. And this is, for me, the complementary part of this that is still a bit missing. So it's good that we now know who these people are when they come in. I think it's to be commended, and encourage the minister to go, you know, full speed ahead, bring all of these databases together so that we can reap the full benefits of having, you know, the API system in place, as it were.
One of the reasons that the minister gave for the introduction of the, you know, the incoming and exit card was that we cannot continue to have attaches of foreign embassies granting visas on a whim to persons coming into Nigeria, that the visa on arrival policy initially was meant for high net worth individuals and for persons who are coming into the country to contribute positively to the business environment on Nigeria. But it's as if there is an uncommunicated aspect of it that maybe it was abused. The other aspect is about criminal element using that mechanism to come into Nigeria. Are we saying we don't have a database system or in connection with other countries to know persons who could be coming into Nigeria but have a criminal record? Most especially, there's been accusation against China that most of the factories here in Nigeria are being manned by some Chinese persons who served jail time in their countries, then they come back to Nigeria, then they are shipped into Nigeria to manage some of these their manufacturing hubs in Nigeria, and the way and manner they treat the Nigerian staff is something that falls below standard. Could it be connected to the visa on arrival policy, or is just a mismanagement of the database system?
Look, I mean, for me, the problem is that the database either doesn't exist or exists in a silo, and you can't, use it to achieve proper profiling and tracking of people that come into your country. There's privacy issue with the issue of tracking, but the national security and national interest, side of the conversation means that you do have to ensure that at least you have the capability. The landing card and exit card, that the minister spoke about is something that already works, but it's manual. If you travel out of the country today and you're coming back and you get a landing card and you fill it, and then you submit it, at the border control, the immigration desk, at the airport. And if you are leaving the country as well, as you are getting into the departure area of the airport, you get your card, you fill it, and you submit it to the immigration people as you're leaving. But the thing that is being done now is that the data that is captured on that card is being automated. So hopefully I would assume that that would mean, for example, that I should fill that card on some sort of a portal that directly, instead of filling a card manually that somebody then has to capture. So the automation of that process, I think, is what has been done. That is good. But, like I said, if you have, the API system, advanced passenger information, you have all of the data about that individual that is standing in front of your immigration official at the airport. He can see everything about that person. If the person is on, an interested persons list, whether with the Interpol or any other international agency, they can see it, and they can then take the appropriate action. That is all well and good. Once the person crosses that border control, once you stamp his passport and you say, welcome to Nigeria, and he crosses and enters, the streets of Nigeria, he's gone. He's gone. I mean, we don't even have the capability to confirm, as it were today, maybe with the introduction of this system, that changes. When he's leaving and where he's living through, how long has he stayed? All of that information is what I think that the minister is now trying to address, so that if somebody overstays his visa, for example, when he's trying to come back into the country, you can say, no, excuse me, you had a 30-day visa, you stayed for 6 months. We can't let you in again. And I think the issue you speak about with the Chinese and other nationals coming into the country and abusing, the access we've given them, maltreating our citizens, is another conversation that, will be affected by how well we implement this, but then goes into the issue of the policy of how we manage our foreign policy, our bilateral relationships with all these other countries. What do our embassy people in China, for example, do to protect Nigerians in China? And then what do immigration officials in Nigeria do to ensure that nationals from China don't misuse the access we've given them by maltreating our citizens or engaging in any other unwanted action? So it's all connected, but I think that for me, I just feel that the minister needs to do more, in the direction it's currently moving. It needs to move more in that direction, do it faster, and be resolute about ensuring that he implements this so that people don't then sabotage all of the good work that he's doing so far.
Also have complained about the difficulty obtaining Nigerian visa, even for those where we have embassies and high commissions abroad. That it's more difficult to get Nigerian visa than getting an American visa for some expatriate. How will this process really reduce this bureaucratic bottleneck and give people easy access to Nigeria, especially now that we are requiring a lot of foreign portfolio investments and foreign direct investments?
I think thanks for that question, because that also ties to what I was saying with regards to the work that the minister has been doing. What the minister is doing is basically trying to reform the entire immigration process for the countries. And I do remember that he spoke about reforming, the visa process in our foreign missions, ensuring that we are now using automation, ensuring that all of the databases across the different embassies are connected to the central database that they launched recently, ensuring that even the application process itself is online, trying to implement the e-visa, for example. The e-visa is supposed to take off, I think, he says 1st of March, and if 1st of March fails, which is just a week, less than a week away, actually, then 1st of April, it's certain that that will happen. If you have the e-visa, it means that people will go online, apply for the visa. They don't have to visit until maybe their biometrics needs to be captured. And then, they get issued their visa. It's stamped on their passport, and it can be read. It's machine readable, so that when they come into the country, again, it's a seamless process for getting in. All of this ties, of course, to the issue of ease of doing business, ease of entry, to encourage investors to come, bring their monies into the country, knowing fully well that they don't face administrative bottlenecks, even in just the process of trying to come into the country. So again, kudos to the minister. One would hope that he would be continue to be determined in bringing all of the different aspects of border control, immigration management, bring it all together and ensure that there is alignment towards the objectives of the country. If it does, and then I must also add, tying that to our national identity management process, ensuring that, if you come in as an immigrant, you're coming into the country to do business, there is some sort of a number that you get that can enable us to track you. All of these things are important, and I think that the earlier we are able to bring all of these databases together, the faster we can reap the full benefits that other countries that do these things properly are reaping currently.
Plan, and that is replacing the visa on arrival with the landing and exit card. Now, one of the reasons the minister said this is in place is to ensure that at a tip of, in a quick time, the NIS can actually tell how many foreigners are visiting Nigeria. But the border, we know how porous the borders can be. So what step needs to be done to ensure that while they can't come in because they don't have the landing or they don't have the landing card, many of them are not going through the borders?
Extending all of these processes beyond the airports. So at the moment, it's been implemented in 5 international airports. But what happens at the semi-border? What happens, in Kano State, where we have borders with Niger Republic, and so on and so forth. All of this different other borders, the borders, with Cameroon, in Adamawa State, in Cross River State, all of these other borders, official border points, crossing points, and entry points, we need to implement this system to start with, ensuring that the same process, is applied across board and giving us more visibility, more access to who comes in and who goes out of our country. But the other thing is, as we know, that we do have very porous borders as a country, and that needs to be addressed. One of the things I think we need to do is to increase the personnel base of the immigration service. I don't think we have enough. We have a huge unemployment problem in the country. We have young people basically roaming around looking for work. I don't see why we can't employ a significantly larger number of people to be in the immigration service, and then map our border points properly, map our border lines properly. It is literally impossible because of the size of the country to say you want to build a wall, for example. And I'm not even sure maybe that's a practical thing that to want to achieve just from a foreign policy perspective. But we do need to have visibility across the entirety of all our borders, all the countries that we share borders with, whether to our east or to the west or to the north. We do need to ensure that there is full surveillance of all of these points using technology, so that we can then ensure that people only cross through official crossing points, and where they attempt to do otherwise, that there is a system in place that can detect it, and where they can be apprehended with ease, with speed. You can quickly deploy border control officers to apprehend people that are crossing illegally. all of that is still work that desperately needs to be done. So, because of course, as you know, this also has security implications for the country. The issue of terrorism, banditry that we have in many parts of the north and that is spreading very fast outward, it still revolves around our porous borders. The fact that people can just enter this country from way too many places. And in those places, there are actually roads. They might be dead tracks, and some of them, to certain degrees, you actually can drive across. So there's still a lot of work for the Immigration Service to do and for this minister to do to ensure that we checkmate and secure our borders more efficiently.
Thank you so much, Segun Sopitan, Principal Partner, Woodridge and Scott Consultant, for making our time this morning to be a part of the conversation on the front burners.
Thanks for having me. Have a wonderful day.